New York Times. Bitcoin's first felon faces more legal trouble. San Francisco. Over the last year, Charlie Shrem, a 28-year-old Bitcoin investor, has brought two Maseratis, two powerboats, one of them 32 foot long, and a $2 million house in Florida, along with smaller pieces of real estate. In the world of cryptocurrencies, where millions can be made and lost in a day, that might not make Mr. Shrem stand out. But unlike most Bitcoin entrepreneurs, in 2016, Mr. Shrem got out of prison, where he spent a year after pleading guilty to illegally helping people turn dollars into Bitcoins to buy drugs online. Mr. Shrem, who had been the chief executive of Bitnastant on the first prominent Bitcoin business in the United States, has said in recent interviews that he went to prison with almost no money. So where did the money for the expensive toys come from? That's what two former business partners want to know. Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss, the twins who turned money from a settlement with Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg into a Bitcoin fortune, said they suspected Mr. Shrem had actually been spending Bitcoin that he owned them since 2012, according to a lawsuit unsealed in federal court on Thursday. The Bitcoin would be worth around $32 million at current prices. Either Shrem has been incredibly lucky and successful since leaving prison, or more likely he acquired his 6 properties, 2 cars, 2 powerboats, and other holdings with an appreciated value of 5,000 Bitcoin he stole from the Winklevoss twin in 2012, the lawsuit says. The judge who oversaw Mr. Shrem's early trial has already agreed to freeze some of Mr. Shrem's financial assets, according to court documents. The lawsuit could blossom into an ever bigger problem for Mr. Shrem because an affidavit filed in court suggests that Mr. Shrem has also not paid the government's $950,000 in restitution that he agreed as a part of his 2014 guilty plea. Mr. Shrem's lawyer, Brian Klein, said in the statement that the claims by the Winklevoss brothers were baseless. The lawsuit enormously alleges that about 6 years ago, Charlie essentially misappropriated thousands of Bitcoins, he said. Nothing could be further from the truth. Charlie's plans to vigorously defend himself and quickly clear his name. The lawsuit from the twins threatens another reversal of fortune for Mr. Shrem, who went from being one of the earliest Bitcoin millionaires to being called Bitcoin's first felon. When he was arrested in 2014, Mr. Shrem was accused by federal authorities of using his company to knowingly sell Bitcoin to people who wanted to buy drugs from the online black market Silk Road. Since his release in 2016, Mr. Shrem has said in numerous interviews that he recognizes his past mistakes and wants to cut a new and legal path. On the podcast Love, Sex, and Money, Mr. Shrem said that in the first months out of prison, he worked as a dishwasher and didn't look at his email. Over the last year through, Mr. Shrem had already gotten involved with a number of troubled projects. He was among the leaders of 2 efforts, one a cryptocurrency credit card and the other an initial coin offering that had to give money back to investors after various partnerships that Mr. Shrem had promised fell through. But those are likely to be mere headaches compared to what he could face in a confrontation with the Winklevoss twins. Mr. Shrem helped get the brothers interested in Bitcoin in 2012 and became their first advisor in the young industry. The twins asked Mr. Shrem to help them amass the beginnings of what would become an enormous stockpile of cryptocurrencies, giving him $750,000 to buy Bitcoin from other deep-pocketed investors. A few months into this partnership, the twins said they realized that Mr. Shrem had not given them all the Bitcoin they were due. The brothers gave Mr. Shrem $250,000 in September 2012. But the lawsuit says that a month later he only delivered around $189,000 worth of Bitcoin at the going price, which was around $12.50 at the time. The 5,000 or so missing Bitcoins became a point of tension between the twins and Mr. Shrim. They asked him numerous times for the accounting of the Bitcoins he had purchased, and eventually brought any account who documented the missing funds according to the court documents. I have been patient, and at this point, it's getting a bit absurd, Cameron Wickenovoss wrote Mr. Shrim in 2013 in an email quoted in the lawsuit. I don't take this lightly. The missing Bitcoin, which were worth 98% less at the time, appear to have been forgotten in the broader battle between the brothers and Mr. Shrim over the investment in the company BitInstant. The 2013 BitInstant fell apart, and the twins blocked Mr. Shrim's efforts to revive the company with new investors because of their concerns about its management style. By the time Mr. Shrim was arrested in 2014 as a result of activities at BitInstant that took place before the brothers invested, they had cut off contact with him. The Wickenovoss twins' problems with Mr. Shrim have not held them back. They were briefly each cryptocurrency billionaires last year, and they have built one of the leading cryptocurrency exchange, Gemini. Despite this year's big drop in the cryptocurrency prices, their holdings are still worth nearly $1 billion. Cameron Wickenovoss said that he and his brother decided to pursue the missing Bitcoins again after they saw Mr. Shrim's recent spending patterns. When he purchased $4 million in real estate, 2 cars, and 2 powerboats, we decided it was time to get to the bottom of it, Mr. Winklevoss told the New York Times. The brothers hired an investigator who found that 5,000 Bitcoins were transferred in 2013 through address associated with Mr. Shrim and onto the Bitcoin wallet service XAPO and Coinbase, according to the complaint. The investor traced the money on the blockchain, the public ledger, where all Bitcoin transactions are recorded. Jed Rakoff, a judge in the Federal District Court for the Southern District of New York, approved an application the twins made in September to freeze any funds that Mr. Shrim holds with those companies. The judge wrote in his order that Mr. Shrim had evidence and intent to frustrate the collection efforts of the creditors. The court fight could cause problems for Mr. Shrim's latest venture, a firm called Crypto IQ, the company which promises market intelligence to Bitcoin traders, and holding a conference for customers in Las Vegas this month, promising unparalleled insight from the roster of experts at the very epic center of the crypto universe. In an interview with Breaker magazine last month, Mr. Shrim said he was getting used to the ups and downs. My personal life goes through bull and bear markets too, he said, so the key is how to deal with it when you're in the bearish market. And there's that.